Let's flip this chapter, okay? And today we want to be able to talk about the stages of crisis. The stages of crisis. And I know that I don't know where we are whenever I am preparing myself to come to us or to speak. I know that we are in different corners of the world, facing different things. But when I felt this on my heart, I felt particularly there are so many of us that are going through different phases, and we need to be able to identify in which phase we are, lest we make mistakes. Oh, we take long in that phase and get stuck and never move on to the next phase or even move out of the crisis itself. Okay? Because then, have you ever seen someone who doesn't know they're in crisis, but for you, you know they're in crisis? It just feels like you feel unsettled on their behalf, but for them, it seems like they're okay. Have you seen a person, let me just give a weird example of someone who is in crisis, like they're a mature woman, who maybe they even have children, but they're not interested in working, and yet they need money. But they don't want to lift a finger. Now, for you who is a hard worker and a hustler, you look at them and you're like, chigatirawa, you know? Because you know school fees is going to come. They're going to need shoes. They're going to need a shelter. They're going to need, and you're like, poor children. What's wrong with this woman? But for her, even when she's walking, she's like, you know, a lizard that is heavy, eh? Like she has no care in the world. Sometimes I'm like, I wish I could get Chiboko and just beat this mature person and just beat sense into them. But let me tell you, you will speak. You will do everything in the world and they will not do anything. And guess what? Katonda cheya soko kubambula. They will never have shame that they can ask for lunch, they can ask for supper, they can ask for, and ask for that. Otherwise, if it were up to some of us, we even can go hungry without telling anyone that we have gone hungry. So do you see that? Like you feel so bad. Someone is in a crisis, but they just don't know that they're in a crisis. Now, there can never be progression, for those that are taking notes, without disruption. Without disruption. And let me tell you, so many of us see disruption in so many different ways. You have to get to a place where you are so shaken, where there is no turning back, and let me tell you, sometimes God allows us to be disrupted, because things cannot be normal forever. Otherwise, if things are normal forever, you are going to stay normal, and normal is not good. You're supposed to be extraordinary. According to him, you're supposed to be great. So if he sees you're still normal, he causes a disruption. Let me tell you, some relationships will shake because God is disrupting you. Even your health can be tested for a disruption. Your job can be tested because of a disruption. Your family can even or hate you or deny you or do anything because God is trying to shake you out of your comfort and saying, you know what, if I do not create a crisis here, this person is going to be like this for the next 10 years. And he's like, no, I'm not going to see them. I'm not going to watch them. I think God loves us so much, so many times, that he will not let us be at the same level, even when we choose. Though he's not going to do it for you, but he will create the discomfort and hopes that you will read into the discomfort or read into the crisis and be able to do the right thing. But some of us, even when crisis knocks, we are like, bija kugwa tewali kitagwa. Ate we have Bible references. Nagundi yaita muchino. Wasn't Jonah in the belly of the fish? But the fish, he came back, Job went through a lot of testing. You will have all those supporting, but remember, you are supporting yourself in a place of loss, in a place of tears, in a place of lack, in a place of nothingness. And guess what? We are not growing any younger. We are growing older, and the needs are becoming more. And the time is going to come when you cannot even work. That is why we are in this stage of our lives, but some of us are already planning for retirement. That day, when the day comes and I can no longer work, how will I earn? How will I keep going out and having life? Sometimes we want to edit and we're like, you know what, when I get to that age, it will be just, just being here. For me, no. When I get to that age, it will be bikinis and going Hawaii and going to Bahamas and, because I have done life, I have hustled, now I'm in the time of harvest. Excuse me. I told it to one of my nieces. I was like, but Auntie Hilda, no beginnings. I'm like, but at that age, I don't care. Like, literally, I don't care. I have no worries in the world, okay? So, no progression without, or no progress without disruption, okay? And because so many of us lose motivation as we go on, and sometimes the disruption comes and then you pick up your vibes so quickly. The only problem is some of us lose the vibes and lose the motivation. And it's not the motivation that we have lost a sense of focus on what matters most. So next time you want to tell us, I lost the motivation, I want you to edit that word or that statement and be able to position it rightly, that you lost focus on the most important things. It's not like you lost motivation. You didn't lose motivation. You just lost focus. So number one, the stages. That is the shock and safety. Okay? Now, so many of us, when we come into contact with a crisis, our first reaction is resistance. We don't want to accept. We don't want to allow. And then we want to hoard. How it was, it's how it should be. Just take an example of COVID and what happened. Weren't people hoarding toilet paper? And food. Some people were like, you know what? We are going to change the way we've been eating. Now we are, because now, even the nations were locking down. So, as a human mind, when you go through a crisis, when you come into encounter a crisis, the first thing is you shut down, you lock down, you minimize certain things, you hoard, you resist, you fight. And that is why it was so easy for the international media to sell the fear that it was selling. Because when the shock comes, you will believe so much in the negatives more than the positives. So even if someone tells you, this too shall pass, you'll be like, but it is taking long. We've been through the first lockdown, now the second lockdown, and so you are still resisting. This is not true, it's not happening, or maybe it's happening to those, but it's not happening here. Then when it comes close, people get even depressed because you're fighting so much, okay? And that is the shock. The shock of just getting to know that, by the way, some of you have gone, or some people have gone through the shock. I've dealt with marriages and people that have gone through separation and divorces for a very long time. The shock that first comes is, even if this marriage is bad, I want to hold on to it. Because the shock has come, the crisis has come. Now you feel you are on the losing end. So now what you want more than anything is to fight for safety. Whether it's a boy, it's a boyfriend that is calling quits. Did you see the video that they took at Javas? Did you see that the crisis? In the crisis, what you are doing is you are resisting what is happening. You are begging, because anyone acting, when someone, you do not even wait for them to stand up. You look at them once in their face and you will know that what I am doing is wrong. You can even just decide to go, because you will see the disgust. You read the disgust on the face, on someone's face. Immediately, they saw the person. So when you read the disgust, sit down with your balloons and the cake, ask for the waiter to bring the knife, cut the cake, serve the people around you, cross your legs, ask for ice cream, and Yeah, chocolate fudge. Eat something, sugar, that excites you. And then, after that, get your balloons, get out. But it shows you that when a person is shocked, the first thing is to resist. I don't think I'm reading right. I don't think they mean what is on their face. And sometimes we want to explain, anjagala naye okale olwakuba maybe nakikoledde mu bantu. Do you see how we disrespect ourselves? That we are not loyal to ourselves. And then she went ahead to kneel down, as in, mponye ekiswalo. Now, the thing is, I don't want to think whether it was for real or it wasn't for real, because I mean there were so many people to gain in such scenarios, and these days we know stunts can be acted out and all that, but still it's a perfect example to show you that in the face of a crisis, it's so easy to disrespect ourselves, okay? It's so easy to resist. It's so easy to lock down our faculties, our thoughts. We don't think, we don't want to think. Because when you start thinking, remember when we were starting the year, I mentioned something to do with, when I was talking about being or dominating your year, I said that we have two sides. We have the lower side and we have the higher side. Every human being has the higher side and the lower side. Now, most of us let our lower side reign over everything that we do. It's our lower side that procrastinates. It's our lower side that disrespects ourselves. It's our lower side that never executes anything. Even when we know everything that we need to do, we actually don't lift a finger to do it. It's our lower side that is usually demotivated. But our higher side is usually the one that wants to. Now, so many of us, when we are in such a scenario and we want to give a chance to our minds to think, your mind will give you the right direction. Your intuition will tell you, but why are you here? But because you want the safety, you still want to hold on. Okay? So now that is the first stage. Because so many people stay in that first stage forever. So many. About life, about a crisis. Someone loses a relationship. We were talking about it here in the Monday Fellowship together with our colleagues. And they're saying people take 7 years, 10 years, 15 years in a heartbreak. Yeah. And then some people go ahead to even marry for the sake of having children, and because they were told years are going, not because they love the person. But forever, they are thinking about the other person that no longer wants them. And they're thinking that person was the perfect person. That is why they sing the songs, never mind, I'll find someone like you. Otherwise, no one will be singing that song. Why would I want to find someone like the one who didn't like me? Why? It's only like pure wisdom. I would want to find another caliber of person that is interested, that is loyal, that is respectful. Okay? But remember, our lower side most of the times is more functional than the higher side. Okay? Let's go to number 2. Number 2 is when now we go into the coping. We're trying to find a way. We're trying to work it out. That is how so many of workplaces in the pandemic learned to be able to figure it out, how people can work remotely and yet deliver work as they should be able to deliver the work, right? We are trying to convince ourselves. Now, it's people that have moved into, that means there is progress. You get to a place and say, enough is enough. I've been in this crisis and I've been at the shock position for a very long time, but I think it's high time I snapped out of it. I don't think this is where I am supposed to be. So that is when you start finding ways, the new normal. That now I have to function, but maybe I'm not going to function the way I used to function before, but I should find a way to be able to function. Who am I? Why am I here? Those are the questions that we ask ourselves, why we are coping. Do I even have use? Because in the shock, people get depressed. And that is where some people will even say, I am better off not in the world. I am better off dying. I am better off because of a job. The crisis has come knocking because of a loss of a loved one. Because of, it could be money that was stolen from you. We handle pressure differently, and we handle crisis differently. And then we also go through the phases differently, or the stages differently. But now in the coping, someone is trying to make sense that, you know what, if I am still alive, there's a reason as to why I'm still alive. Who am I? What am I here to do? That is why you see that during or immediately after the pandemic, the wellness sector and industry and mental health industry shot so high. Because everyone was hosting a webinar about wellness and mental health. Everyone was recovering. How do we adjust to the new normal? Why? Because those that had survived now were trying to cope with the pandemic, because we were being told that the crisis is not about to go away forever. We didn't even know that some of us, I don't know whether you asked yourself whether we will go back to the normal ways of meeting like we are meeting. Some people gave up hope and they thought we would never go back to the way things were before. Okay? So now that is a transition. You are not where you want to be, but at least you are better than the shocked one. How many of us, when something happens suddenly, you cannot even move? Like your legs are tied in one, you're paralyzed. Like clearly something has happened. You do not understand. Whenever you look, you don't even like everything doesn't make sense. You are shocked. You are paralyzed. You have no words. Even if they ask you what happened, those things happen. And the reason as to why I'm bringing them to light is so many of us are in different stages. If you are not in it, you are coming out of it, or you are getting into it, or it's better to learn about it so that you can well equip and help another person. That when you see a person that is going through the shock, you will read and say, you know what? You're going through the shock. And you will know that a person that is going through the shock, giving them systems and telling them so many words does not help. Pray with them, listen to them, be available with them. Because they've not gotten to the place where they want to make sense of this. No, they're only in a place that understands pain. They're only in a place that understands shock. And they're only in a place where they are resisting, and all they want is the safety of the bubble they have created around themselves. So if you're a people helper, when you see someone going through that, you will be so quick to know that you do not preach to them. Even when they come for a session, your words are supposed to be fewer than theirs. Because whatever you are saying is not going to make sense to them. It's like I think some of you have asked yourselves, what do I tell a person that has lost someone? What? Munanga, it was God's timing. Era mama, God's timing. Era. You get it? So when the shock happens, the best that you can do is when the tremors are still happening, still them down. Be available for them. Do not even offer to help unnecessarily. When you see that there is need and you can cover it without asking many questions. Where to me? You get it? And by the way, that can happen to your spouse. That now, this job that they had held dear, and you know that when it comes to men, they are defined by what they do. So now, what they do that became who they are has gone. And now you're saying, but God is going to take us through this. They don't understand that God. Even if that spouse is a pastor, even if they don't understand that God. But you sitting with them in that calmness, in that stillness, and reassuring them that you are with them, and reassuring them that you don't have any other priorities, but they are your priority, even when there is no much communication that is going on. That can be magic. That you can think about what they really like to eat and give it to them. That you can think about what will calm them down, what will give them sleep, what will give, because eventually they will slide into the coping. And when they slide into the coping, then you can let them try to figure out what is happening and the new normal, and then that is where you can be able to slide in, okay? And that will be an easy entrance for you to be able to slide into their lives. So let people figure out things, and that is when there is a lot of noise. The coping session, the stage, there is a lot of noise that is happening, a lot of distraction that is happening. There is so much to do. Now take it in your personal life. When you decided to actually come into this program, okay? You were living a shock. Maybe what got you out of the comfort zone of, I have been living my life normally, maybe you didn't see it as a crisis, because when we define crisis, crisis is not just something that happens suddenly, but you getting tired of living your life the way it has been is also crisis, right? So you're like, you know what, there's something more to me. There's something clearly more to me. And now you'll find that some of us are in the coping season where there's a lot to do, there's a lot of content, there's a lot to figure out, there's a lot, who am I? What kind of help can I offer? What can, who is laughing? You get it? Now you're trying to figure out things, and there's a lot of noise. You're seeing a lot of people who are doing the things that you want to do, and then you're thinking, is the market saturated? Do I need to back down? Is there something special? But there's nothing special. Everything under the sun has been done. Can I do it any day? Am I that good? Can I speak like she speaks? Can I? But people have gone so much ahead. People have run. So you are here. You're not even trying to catch up, but there is also paralysis. You're overwhelmed. So you see that crisis is not just the death, the loss of a job, no. Not knowing your purpose is crisis. So now, when we're like, you know what? We are tired of living normal lives. You decided that, you know, something has to change. But when it changes, let me tell you, things get worse before they get better. They get what? Before they get, and no one would want to tell you that, because when someone signs up and they're like, you know, I want to find my purpose, I want to go, they envision, let me tell you, they'll even envision the second week they will be making money, and they will be brand influencers, and they will be, and then you'll tell them you have to create content, and like me in front of a camera. What am I going to talk about? How do I start a video? And then before you know it, let me tell you, by the 5th week you have decided videos are not for me. You have decided, yes, you can write the problems on paper, but you cannot talk about them. You have decided, it seems this brand thing is for those people, but not me. Me who does not even put on a single makeup. So you start sending it to other people, the noise and the distraction, okay? And so many of us, in that phase is when we need a mentor. Because what a mentor does is they give you a roadmap. When they give you a roadmap, now the noise drowns. The distractions drown. Now you have something to focus on. Because while the noise is happening, like you're looking at different things, you're seeing what's happening, and you just don't know where you fit in. But once you have the roadmap, and you're like, okay, now I have things that I must be able to follow, and there are not so many, so let me even start following. But let me tell you, someone can give you a roadmap, and you will go and sleep with that roadmap. Someone will give you the clarity of and break down what you need to do after what. And guess what? You will be excited in that moment while you are receiving, and then you go back, and it's like you have never had anything. Like life is too normal. So aren't we self-defeating or self-sabotaging sometimes? But remember, now we are in the coping. Whatever crisis, we are in the coping. And in the coping, that is where we get discouraged. While we are trying to fumble and figure out and be overwhelmed, now the exhaustion comes. Because, and let me tell you, the exhaustion comes not from doing things that we are supposed to do. The exhaustion comes from doing them in our minds. You're afraid of creating the video before you even put the camera in front of you. No chikankanira, no chetegekera. That is why you'll be like, but these windows are not good, and I think these curtains are not good. I think I will do it when I'm in a better house. I think, as in, you are exhausting yourself. Bad hair day. And then bad hair day never goes away. Every day you have bad hair. And like, but when I smile, I think it does not come out well. But I think I did wrong makeup. I think this Kasiga is taller than this one. I think, like, seriously? So you are trying, you are exhausted, you are breaking down, and some people have a meltdown. A complete meltdown. And then some of them back off. Because there is nothing easy. When someone tells you finding your purpose, you'll think, that is as easy as pointing a finger and saying, yeah, now this is my purpose. Whether it's a normal, real crisis, okay? We go through these phases. Just like I said, when you have a mentor on your side, or when you have a helper on your side, even when you're going through coping, they are able to equip you or to give you clarity. But number one that they should be able to do is to simplify, not complicate. Is to simplify the process. And I think in this season, one thing I have learned is I'm also going to even limit the amount of information that you get, because when you get too much information, you even get overwhelmed. So I'm going to limit. I'm going to take out so much that I had plugged in so that I can give you a short roadmap that if you can be able to do A, B, C, and D, full stop, you have a hang of everything that you need to have a hang on. Now it's up to you to deliver. Because how I have actually been spoon feeding and overfeeding you is so that people can be able to execute. So whenever I see the gap, I fill the gap. Now I'm not going to fill the gap anymore. I'm not going to fill the gap anymore. So the coping time is when we are figuring out what exactly we need to do. But again, I would want us to look at the good side of the coping season. We are being prepared. Whichever crisis, whether it's a loss of a job, whether it's a loss of something that you really held dear in your heart, okay? Whatever crisis you are going through, just know that you are being prepared to get better, to have more strength, to create more boundaries, and to get more courage. You're being prepared that you will lead better. You're being prepared that you will know what to do when another person is going through the same circumstance. So in the fumbling, and you're exhausted and you're finding out, why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Who am I? And everything else. When you find those answers, while you're coming out of the coping season, you are stronger to hold another person's hand. You are stronger to detect that someone else is in the middle of the heat. And you're like, you know what? I have ever been where you are. So now, there is no leadership that is not tested. You know, some of us say, we want to find our purpose. You know what? When you find your purpose, it automatically makes you a leader. Automatically makes you a leader. And then there is no leadership that is not tested. Because a leadership has to be tested. In the human beings that you're going to lead, mulimo obuligo bwafuuka embuzi. Budinana amayembe, butomera. Don't you see, Coach Rosalind decided, say, I want to influence 100 women. Let me tell you, God can give you 5, 10 women, and the 11th one is an impossible bite. Like they come into the community and they shake the community. They will be the ones with the lugambo. Then they will be the ones that believe you're not giving them enough value. And then they will be the ones that is unsettled about everything. And then they will bring their unsettlement. Let me tell you, a person that is unsettled, an accident will always cause accidents. And now you have to mature from that. And let me tell you, the way you sell that program is also going to mature and change. The way you sell that program to other people. Like there will be a growth that has come out of that shaking and out of that crisis, because you will be trying to cope. What did I do to them? As it will be over, you'll be like, now maybe I should just leave this thing alone. The temptation to give will be to give up will be high. Maybe this is not for me. I was doing them a favor. They couldn't see that. Like, what's wrong with human beings? And then when you have, whether it's a spouse or someone that actually listens to you, they'll be the one, like they'll be the punching bags. Because you will go and know yombana. What's wrong with human beings? Like, what? Abantu balowooza D. D balungambe nti balowooza ku Monday so that I can engage them on Monday. Leadership will test you. And after it has tested you, and you have been found to be true, because what it's testing is like gold can never be gold until it goes through the fire. It goes through the refinery. Now, some of us want to be the leaders that have the chaff, that have the pepper, that have the soil, that have everything, because God brought us out of the earth as the raw material. Now we think we must just stay the raw material forever. No, please. You're going to go through the refinery, and like they're going to cut off slowly by slowly, chopping you off, showing you that you are not as important as you thought you are. So, can you, kakana, you go through the fire? Sorry? That what? I told you what Talonga Bolos. But let me tell you, what comes out of that is diamond, is beautiful, is influential. There are times you're going to speak, and the whole room will be quick to do what you're talking about. There is a certain anointing that comes after you have been through the fire. There is a certain proportion opime ebigambo nomanya ni gwenjogera naye mupimirako chenkanawa and you don't suffer so much. Why? Because you have been through the fire, through the coping season, and now you come out with more courage, and you're like, you know what? Now it's time to reposition relationships. There are those that are getting out, and there are those that are coming in. Okay? And then those that are getting out, basambagala, they are saying all those, and you're like, Muja kuba bulungi, you will be fine. Okay? It's not easy. Then you set your boundaries. Then you find courage to speak, to say things that you are, that you were afraid to say in the first place. Let me tell you, when you get to the place of having that courage, everyone that looks at you will be like, yeah, she knows her value. You cannot play around. You can't. She doesn't even have time for jokes and games. No, she doesn't. Because you will have time for better things. But that comes out of the crisis. Number 3, the progress. Now, this is what separates the winners and the losers. This is what separates. That is when the separation happens. There are those that lagged in the shock and the safety. They failed to come out of it. There are those that went into the coping, and they have stayed in the coping for the past 10 years. So guess what? They start becoming so angry about life. Okay? So they don't set boundaries, but they build walls. Now, that person has taken long in the coping mechanism. They were not able to come out of the coping phase of the crisis. Now they become bitter. Then they start preaching their bitterness. That is why I say, if you're a counselor, a coach, a mentor, and you fail to come out of the coping phase, you will tell other people, men are dogs. Don't listen to anyone. Listen to only yourself. So if you want to listen to yourself, you might as well get married to yourself. Because people are going to come to us with needs. And they need to know that their needs are safe with us, that we can facilitate between where they are and where they want to go. And you can be able to know and have the sixth sense and the discernment to know that this person, what they need more than anything is pure love. What they need more than anything is not me projecting my fears on them, that just as it never worked for me, so it will never work for them. What is that? It has not worked for you because you refused to get out of coping. You stayed in coping. And we have so many motivational speakers, so many coaches, so many mentors, so many brands that are still in the coping. And most of them don't even see the need for mentorship. So they think they know it all. So you will find them at Zuckerberg to our lives. It's just a button, you go live. And then someone will say, Muje, nzenja bavumira wiki. Isn't that staying long at the same phase? And you become so discouraged and so overwhelmed and so exhausted that you never get to the end of that phase to pick up more courage, create boundaries, and be able to actually know better, learn better, and do better. Because when you get to the progress side, that is when you have the need to find out more. That there is more to me, there is more to my existence. Okay? There is more, and that is where the lack of satisfaction, you feel unsatisfied, that this is not my entirety. My whole living, the reason as to why I was born and I am on earth was not just for me to get here and just die and just vanish and just live a normal, mediocre life. That is time for movement. That is time for progress, thrusting forward, okay? That is time for, because I usually say that my definition of success is progress. It doesn't matter whether you've moved half an inch or a quarter an inch, or you just pushed yourself forward by centimeters. That is success. We are not waiting to get to the end of the journey and then jubilate and say we are successful. No. For as long as you can wake up and just say, you know what, I know I need to create content, and you create even if it is one sentence, you are successful. So that means progress means quite a lot. It is commitment to yourself to not just talk about it, but to do it, to execute. Progress means execution. And so many of us, we just don't know how to execute. Or we've just decided not to execute because we know what to do, but we're just not doing it. Like someone will know, you know, in order for me to get a job, I have to take my CV and I have to take my applications. And then you keep saying, I will do it. And every morning you wake up, by the way, just when you've just come out of the bathroom and you're putting on, you're like, I had to take, but I think I will take tomorrow. And then, but today is a public holiday, but weekend has come. I think next week. I will go, fresh week, fresh month. When you're about to end the month, the 7 days don't count. You're like, I will go March 1st. And so you keep procrastinating. You know what to do, but you're not doing. And then after that, you're in your prayer chamber. God, give me a job. I think God sometimes just wants to just push you over. It's like, what's wrong with you? So you want me to cook you food and bring it to you? Or you want me to go and buy you food? Or as in, what do you want me to do for you? You have hands, you have brains. There are people that are even less privileged than you. But guess what? They will wake up every day. That guy of either Unlimited something, he wrote a book about, and who doesn't have limbs and what? Just imagine when he got to place the camera. That means he was counting either on his wife and even gotten out of his shock and safety. Should have said, but for me, instead of letting people laugh for me that I even adventured to go and say hi to a woman. And he would have stayed safe and shocked for the rest of his life. But he moved into the coping. He was like, now, survival for the fittest. I am going to create a brand the way I am. And maybe he would count on friends. Place this camera for me. Put it in front of me. Please put, and maybe sometimes his friends will be like, and maybe it's only one side of the face that is in the camera, but he did the video nonetheless. And he started the social media platforms. One who does not have a finger, who does not have anything, he uses his one protrusion on his foot that was supposed to be like a toe. That is what he uses to write. Guess what? He has created an international brand. He has influenced so many people, and so many people have created brands because he created brands. I would say millions of people have created brands because he created a brand. But here you are. With a fully functioning brain. You have your life story, just your life story. Bakugamba tuweko just story yo yobulamu bwo. Agamba simanyi nawe ntandikira. Like serious. Even the things that you have gone through. And let me tell you, even if I told you right now to tell me your life story, you would omit 80% of what you have gone through. Like you have not committed it to memory. You cannot even draw it back. Because there is no need. You have lived a normal life for the longest life, and it just feels like that's the best that you can live. And then even in your family, no one has ever gone further. So you're thinking, I speak English. And then, I'm on social media. I post whenever I want. I have some friends who follow me. And let me tell you, social media has changed so much, the algorithm, that you no longer even see your OGs and your OBs. And yet, 5 years ago, you were seeing all of them. And you were catching up with all of them. But right now, you don't even see one of them. Why? The algorithm changed. So that means your information is not even being submitted to anyone. Why? Because you post whenever you think like posting. The day you start posting every day, because the algorithm also is skeptical and it is pessimistic. Whenever it sees that you're just doing whenever you want to do, then it also says, you know what, we will do whenever we want to do. Yeah. I think that algorithm must be emotional. It must be emotional, okay? So, show up. The phase or the stage of progress is the stage of showing up. Is the stage of you keep doing. Even when you're not seeing immediate results, because chances are you're not going to see immediate results. For the people that want to put on weight, the day you eat a kilo of posho is not the day you put on weight. I think some of you are like, but who wants to put on weight? There are people who want to put on weight. Yes, they're there. And they direct them certain porridge, simanyi boosters, simanyi what. And in my heart, I'm like, oh my God. But there are people. And then, hey, for us, the Weight Watchers, and the ones who wants to lose the... Rolling the salad in Rokoga. You know, there is a way you feel like, you know what, this week I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And guess what? You even feel like you have put on more weight. After eating all your salads and staying away from ice cream and staying away from carbohydrates, you even feel like you're bloated. And you're like, hey, what's wrong? So that means the consistency in showing up, that's what builds the momentum. And this phase of progress is building momentum. And momentum, you don't build it and then you pause. And then you come back and expect that you're going to start from where you stopped. No, that's not how it works. You build it and pause, you go back to zero. And build again. And then, you get to level 10. You get to level 10, you pause again. Go back to zero. And then you get, mama, oyageze akazimbye brand, yajizimbide myaka emeka. But have you seen people like that? And we don't want to be such people, okay? In as much as we are talking about crisis, but we have said crisis is in many forms. Crisis can come in form of problems, but crisis can come in form of lack of purpose for your life. So after you've gone through the coping and now you are at the progress level, that is activity. That is productivity. I hope that you're writing these things down. Because if you keep doing the things that you have been doing, the way you have been doing it, and I want to ask you that question, in 5 years to come, will you be significantly happy with your life? Will you be? No, if you keep doing what you have been doing, I want you to be very honest with yourself. If you keep doing, that means we all know that what we have been doing is at a different level that is not getting us anywhere. That means it's time to upgrade. And we talked about upgrading when we were starting the year, that we must upgrade on the information. That is why we are here. We must upgrade on the execution. The doing. That what do I have to do? That is why most of the meetings these days, after doing a meeting, they will ask what are the execution points. Because we can have meetings and the year will end. And we will sit in the same meetings and we will talk about the same thing. But for as long as we don't have action points and being able to say so and so is concerned about this execution point. So that when we come back, we are asking you, you took an assignment, give us a report on that assignment. Okay? So I need you to give yourselves assignments and say, this week, I must be able to shoot this amount of videos. Or this week, I must be able to do this amount of research. Or this week, I must be able to reach out to schools. Or I must be able to reach out to corporate companies. We have the Beyond Success curriculum. You just need to dress up well. Put on a lipstick if you're the lipstick gully or a person that put on the lipstick. Get the concept notes and then go. And read that concept note, understand it very well, go and knock centenary. Like, I want to look at, to see your human resource. And they're like, and walk like you mean it. Be confident. Let me tell you, when someone enters your office, you can know they've come to waste your time or they've come for business. So walk in confidently and say, you know what, we have a program and it's value-based. You have workers. You would love to motivate them, to change their attitude. They deal with people. They need to know what to prioritize. They need to create better relationships. They need this. And we have this program. I can come with my team. There, I can come with my team and we can come and be able to take through your stuff, and then we can also create something for a package for the leaders and be able to nail it. And in case you have any other contacts of people that you think can need this same service, please give them to me. I'll get in touch with them. And when you're moving out, a firm handshake, glad doing business with you. And then you go back and close the door and say, oh my God, what did I just do? But before you know it, they are calling you. Before you know it, you are going with a team. Do you know the big team that you have in these ladies? You're going with a team and you're speaking and they say, so and so is the one who connected us. Before you know it, they're connecting you to another person. And another day they're calling, Kakati, we have something for Women's Day. Do you think you can come with your team? And this time, you're like, if we are not talking about Beyond Success, definitely it's for charging. How much? You call Coach Fiona or Coach Molly, how much are we charging? Before you know it, you are out there actively doing something. So do you see that twere mesa? Musa waloku ngamante ebyokukozesa tebiriwo. Like clearly, can you say? We have not lacked tools. We have not, but we have just decided we love comfort. We love not lifting up our fingers. And then we just love overthinking. We love second-guessing ourselves and just not being confident. And we just love it in that bubble that is unproductive. So that is where you need to be. You need to get tired. And some of you even go ahead and create more comfort for yourselves. Do you have enough money in your life? Would you say you have enough money to cater to everything that you need? It's never enough. But have you said in your heart, okay, I'm kale ko? You have said in your heart, you're not going to do anything. Do you have enough money? Okay. But would you say, I can survive? Wanji? Because the moment you say, kastandia, kastani na wokusula, kasta omuvumba ngugula. Ogwe, ogwe nkumi satu ateguna nemirawa. Ogwe nkumi ebiri. Atenga sigambye nti mubi. Because nange njambala. Do you know that you can find better clothes down there? Instead of putting on the same thing and you find like 100 other people putting on in the name of buying new things. But the thing is, the comfort that we have created, but when I call my mother, but my husband earns money, but my boyfriend, my fiancé will give me. So you create a comfort. That is why I'm not making a bad prayer. But I pray you get tired of where you are. That God shakes you. So that disrupts your thinking that enough is enough. Otuuka olunaku ng'emitwalo ebiri tegikumala kuyita mu lunaku, ng'emitwalo etaano ne bwe bagikulekera n'ekyennyanja tosobola kukigula, n'ebyetaago by'ewaka ogambe naye omanyi. Something has to change. Something has to change. I don't think I can live this life and I don't know where the next meal is going to come from. I don't know school fees. I have to keep reminding. Ateka kati munange, ateka kati byatuse, ateka kati byakozechi, and then you become like a song. And yet, if you had it, you'll just get it out. Have you understood what I'm talking about? As in, because when you start begging, they will start procrastinating and saying, next week, the other day. But once you have it and they know that you can get it out of your pocket, they'll be like, and they will pull it out and give it. That is why they say, Alina, yawewa. While you're saying, now, I need to change my car, and maybe your fiancé knows that, by the way, she can wake up and buy a 20 million car on her own. That is the day you'll be like, I'll pay half of that car. But the day you say, I need a car, and you have 0 shilling, we will divert to another conversation altogether. We don't want. But do you understand what I mean? So, can you come out of that comfort that you have created yourself? Disrupt yourself. Okay? Disrupt yourself. And some people disrupt themselves by investing. That, you know what, every money that I am coming is going somewhere. So every time I get money, that is not when I'm thinking about buying blue shoes and indigo shoes and orange shoes and butterfly earrings and then handbags like 6 of them. And you're like, this one will match with the other one, and this one will match with the other one, and the other one will match with the other one. And then you spend a full year without putting it on. The moment you have an investment, whether it's an investment club, and you're like, you know what? Now every money that comes goes here. So I only have what to make me survive. If I need anything more, even if it's ice cream or anything, that means I need to work extra. That's what's going to send you to working. Because when you post and you know, I told you that when I left campus, I didn't give myself the luxury of signing up for a job. So this is what happens. And I believe it was God that helped me make that decision. Because every money that made me survive, I knew it was coming from a client. So ask me, I would post every day about my radio show, about the TV station that I was... And because I was hungry and the things that I was doing, I attracted PR. Without me going to ask them to host me, they came looking for me. So now I have a PR angle. The radios are talking about me, magazines are talking about me, newspapers are talking about me, TVs are talking about me. Now people are looking for help because they have seen that I have the content and they have what I need. But again, it's not enough for them to know that I have what they need. I had to go an extra mile and create content every day. Post it. Oba nyambadde ntya, oba nagenzeewa, oba nayogereddewa, and I would post it because I knew that my meal was coming from the next client, my rent was coming from the next client, and everything that I was doing was counting either on a bridal shower somewhere or a speaking engagement somewhere. So I did not create a comfort for myself that now I have money coming to me every month, because if I had done that, I would have sat in a job. And I would have been content because I can pay my rent and then I can, no. The money that bought my first car from clients. Everything that I did and everything that I have done henceforth from clients. So while you're saying, abantu tebalina sente, they have money to bring to me. Wanji? Like seriously. And why? Not because I have advertised, not because I have called out banange muje. No, because of the willingness to give value, even beyond value. That whoever goes tells another person, and even after 10 years, they come back to me. That means if someone comes to you after 10 years, that means you did something good for them. That means the tools you gave them have lasted them 10 years in that marriage, and now they feel they need to revamp and be able to go more 10 years. So value, but how are you going to give value? By being productive, by moving, by action, by activity, by momentum, by showing up. You don't just sit at home, raise your legs, watch TV, and hope things are going to work out. They're not going to work out. Soft life is created, right? You know, some of us say, I want soft life, I want soft life. The people that are living soft life, they are creating it. No one should ever lie to you. Oh, you sign up for this program, and then after that, you're going to passively earn money. Let me tell you, no one is passively earning money. Nowhere. The only reason as to why I will wake up with popping messages of 1 million on my phone, 800 on the account, 9, as in, and I'm like, there is a time, I think it was last week, as in, every after an hour, a message is popping up either on my account, on someone is either buying a program, someone is paying for something, and I was like, what's this? I know I have made money before, or my brand has made money before, but when that money is coming and popping up and giving you notifications, then you're like, who triggered what? Who said what? Have people watched some post I posted and it triggered them? What has gone on? So you want to know what has gone on that has triggered this kind of reaction that people are actually paying. You get it? But in as much as that is passive, that the money is coming in at midnight and at 3 a.m., it's not because I didn't work for it. I have given value, and I have given value where people have not asked for it, and I have given some more value, and every day I'm giving value, and for the rest of my life I will give value. So in this journey of life changing, of changing people's lives, there is no stopping. There is no, it gets better. And by the way, you will like it. When you get to the progress and the momentum and the activity, and it's not just paying but satisfying to see a person you have helped, to see a person whose hand you have held, you are going to get amazed at how your life is going to turn around. But we all know the 3 stages of crisis. Number 1, and shock and safety. Number 2, coping. Number 3, progress is where the magic happens. So do not get stuck in the shock and the safety. Do not get stuck in the coping, asking yourself endless questions and getting overwhelmed and getting overexhausted and making meaning of everything. Move on to execution. That is the progress. When you execute, results are bound to come. Execution is like planting that you are going to reap. Okay? And we say, God cannot be mocked. What you sow is what you. I love you. Have a great evening.